All right, welcome everybody once again to another Johnny Torch live broadcast. And hopefully this one's going to go off a little better than the previous one last time. I've got the YouTube page open right now to see if I can hear my voice. Now, it sounds clear on my end. I can hear my own voice, and it doesn't sound garbled. Hopefully that's going to stay that way. Let me just mute it now so I don't get distracted hearing it. I don't know if you could hear it on your end because I got the earbuds in this time, trying to make sure that we actually have a clear communication this time. Okay, everything sounds fine. I guess if you're watching, you can feel free to let me know if it doesn't sound all right on your end. But apparently, we're good to go. So, welcome to the show. It's been a couple of weeks. I don't know. I'm a busy, busy man. Busy, busy, busy. We've got the most recent issue of The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye finally putting it to bed. It is now in the hands of my file assembler, and it is going to be live very, very soon. Haven't heard from him yet. I gave him the files this past week, so he's still working on them. But yeah, it should be in book form very, very soon. Pages are all done, and I'm very proud of this one. The Man of Our Times arc. This is Act 2, and this is the title of the arc, Man of Our Times, but that's the name of this issue as well. If you haven't been following, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye is a all ages action adventure saga about a down on his luck private eye who takes on the most colorful collection of villains imaginable to protect Stark City from the forces of evil. Pencil Neck, of course, is one of his most dangerous villains. He has the power to make his enemies disappear. Of course, in a previous issue, in the When the Night Comes story arc, Bullets robbed Pencil Neck of his powers to erase. Now, with the help of a mad scientist, as you can see him lurking in the background there, Dr. Chrome Dome, Crime Doctor, Pencil Neck has gotten his powers restored. Of course, Bullets doesn't know this, however, and neither does Stark City, and they are embracing him as humanitarian. In this issue, we see his rise to public acceptance and how he is at least playing the part of a concerned citizen. And of course, how long will that last? Well, with a, as Bullets describes it, diseased mind, such as Pencil Neck, we can't expect it to last for long. And of course, he is bent on revenge. And Bullet's friends are the ones who are going to take the brunt of this in the future. Of course, we have the previous issue, which is Casebook number 10, which is the one that leads up into this episode where Bullets meets some of these new characters that we're going to introduce here, such as Iggy Duke, which is the reporter for Stark City, and he's sort of like the most famous reporter in the city, and we see a lot of it sort of with him framing the story. It's a lot of fun to try to do it sort of in a different way. A lot of times it's just straightforward, and a lot of times we have the old-fashioned, narration blocks where Bullets leads you through the story by talking about what's going on, and he sort of fills you in. In this case, we're sort of seeing the story play out as Iggy Duke reports it. And that's a little bit of a fun challenge to do something a little different than what we usually do. So that was fun. And like I said before, we have officers Harrison Ford. They're going to be having a slightly more prominent role in this issue, with Chubby and Joe Thursday being kidnapped. I don't think I'm giving away too much of the story to say that's where it goes. We've got another preview at the end of this issue, another sneak peek, if you will, of the General. And if you don't remember who the General is, let's show you what we've seen of him so far. And so we've got a sneak peek of the General, a new sneak peek coming up at the end of that issue. And the next issue, of course, issue 12, will wrap up this arc. We're also saying that it wraps up the season. We have, at least theoretically, I'm going to try to do 13 issue seasons, which will encompass 5 story arcs. And that's how that's how it's intended to go. Nothing is really written in stone, so to speak. But at that point, that's when we'll call it a new season and the focus will shift a little bit. And that's why we start off the next season with a new villain, which is going to be the General. And you're going to find out more about the General in subsequent broadcasts. We're going to spend a lot more time talking about this issue once it actually goes to press. So right now it's being assembled. It should be ready for press probably within the next week. Again, I don't want to, overemphasis when that's going to be available, but I know it's probably going to be ready for press next week. So it'll probably be printed, I'm guessing, and available sometime probably by the end of June. And of course, we are working very diligently on the next issue, which will wrap up this story arc. And I've got the cover for that one already ready to go. And if you buy the issue, Casebook 11, Man of Our Times, you will see the cover of the next exciting issue. And that is the one where we really blow all the doors off the joint, because up to now, the storyline, the story arc has been about the mystery. And Bullets knows that Pencil Neck is up to something. He doesn't really know what. He doesn't really know how to get the drop on him, so to speak, because he's playing his cards very close to the chest. And in the third issue of the arc, that's when everything goes to heck, and all the action transpires there. All right, so be sure you keep a lookout on. I didn't even give the usual recommendations at the beginning of a video, but of course, check out our website. You've got the link at the and in the description, and of course, my Twitter page will give you, of course, the latest information. I'm on there way too often, as I always say, getting myself into trouble. But yeah, I spend an abnormal amount of time on Twitter. Well, it kind of is what you do, because I'm on the laptop working on the book and I'm coloring and I'm inking and I'm doing this and that. And the easiest thing to do is just switch over to Twitter for a few minutes, blow off some steam, and get back to work. And I think that's why it's such a popular choice of artists and writers. But definitely check out our Twitter page if you want the latest updates. Check out the previous issues on Indie Planet. On my website, you'll find the link to Indie Planet to make that easier for you. The link is in the description below. We also have our first 3 trades on Global Comics. That is something else we're going to be doing. We're going to release the individual issues from here on in on Global Comics. We're trying to do it like once a month. I'm holding back a little bit because the first 3 trades are so many. There's so many pages. You really take your time to read them, and don't worry about the individual issues because they're a lot shorter, and you're going to get to them eventually. And we're going to get them up there on Global Comics eventually. I got to do a few more tweaks to some of these issues before we put them up. Of course, there's 1 or 2 spelling errors or something that I'm going to have my guy fix before I put them up on Global Comics. That's another thing I'm waiting for. But like I said, we've got plenty of time to catch up with the first 3 trades, which is, I think, roughly over 100 pages. That's that's over 100 pages for you to be enjoying right now. Well, maybe not right now because you're listening to me and you're enjoying that, I'm sure. But after that, go check us out on Global Comics. I got to put a link up on my website to Global Comics. I keep forgetting to do that because I keep just taking for granted that everybody's on Global Comics already, and I don't really need to promote it. But I mean, check it out if you haven't already. Global Comics, it's a lot of fun. You got a lot of choices of, indie comics up there already that a lot of people have already brought to the table. I forget, there's a couple of major publishers up there too. So it's not just indie comics, but of course you'll find a lot of indie comics there. All right, let's get to the main stories. Of course, please like, share, and subscribe and do all that great stuff that everybody always asks you to do. I will ask you to do it as well. And let us get to the first topic. We got a couple of good topics here. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. Let me get my notes. All right. First thing we're going to talk about is they dropped some information about when these. Let's see. Gotta get some images up for you guys. When these new Disney Plus shows are coming on onto Disney Plus. So we have updates here on Loki and Echo. Loki season 2 and Echo. Let's see. Kevin Feige has revealed today during the Disney Upfronts presentation that Loki season 2 will launch on October 6th, while Echo will debut near the end of the year on November 29th. So they're holding these back way back. Now, I don't know, as far as I know, I think Loki was supposed to be a summer release. This was supposed to be around the same time as it was released, the season 1 in the summer. From what I understand, though, as we talked about in the last episode, we have the Jonathan Majors incident, and again, nobody really knows how that's going to go. I believe he's doing court in June, and this thing will either blow over or it'll become this big thing. A lot of people are already suggesting that his time as Kang is over, and there's a lot of sort of bad stories, I guess, in his past of him mistreating people or something. Now, again, this is all hearsay. I prefer to let the guy have his day, his day in court. But of course, the court of public opinion is always something quite different. So whether he's found guilty or not really is irrelevant. Again, I really don't know how this is going to go. Apparently, if they choose to change the Kang actor, they probably will just pretend that he's a variation or something because they had the Council of Kangs or whatever it was. And they do have the opportunity to make the next Kang look completely different. Preferably just have him have the blue face and we don't have to worry about seeing the actor's actual face. So I don't know if that's the reason why they're pushing this down so far, because they don't want to put the show out, because of course Jonathan Majors is in the show, as we've seen, spoilers at the end of Ant-Man 3. Maybe they want to wait till this blows over by pushing this down to the end of the year, and maybe things will be forgiven and forgotten, or maybe at that point they'll have time to have come up with something else. Your guess is as good as mine at this point. Nobody really knows. All right, so let me read the copy here. And of course, Echo is supposed to be the show that's basically soft introducing or soft rebooting, however you'd like to say it, the uh Daredevil universe, slash Netflix universe. That's the soft reboot getting them into this series, into the Disney Plus family. The new season of Loki will consist of 6 episodes. How long was the last season? I don't remember. It seems like it was longer than that. With a new episode premiering each week. We'll wrap up on November 10th, coincidentally, the premiere date of The Marvels. Is that on purpose? We'll see. Conversely, in a change in strategy for Disney Plus, the Hawkeye spinoff Echo will launch all of its episodes at once on November 29th. No word on an episode count, but we'd imagine it consists of 6 to 9 episodes. I have a feeling with Echo, they're hedging their bets, because what happens is some shows are just so boring that you need the binge ability. Because if you wait for a whole week and a show wasn't that good and you wait for the next episode the next week for it, chances are you're going to lose interest. You're going to want to nope out. And I think this is a smart move, because I'm imagining that nobody really cares about Echo, the character. I mean, she was all right in Hawkeye as sort of a side character, side plot character, or something like that. But just to hold her own show, I don't know. And I think when you binge this, Then you'll be able to get to the Kingpin episodes or the Daredevil episodes or the Jessica Jones episodes or whoever is really going to be introduced in this. I don't know if it's officially been announced yet. But and that might be the way to go, I think there. No word, let's see, where is it? Okay, Loki season 2 will return Tom Hiddleston, Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie, Jonathan Majors as Kang, Gugu Mathba Raw, Owen Wilson as that is Ravonna Renslayer. Owen Wilson as Mobius M. Mobius, Wanumi Muskua, I can't pronounce any of these names. Hunter B15, Tara Strong as Miss Minutes, Eugene Cordero as Casey with Raphael Cassell, Ki Hui Kwan. Oh, the short rounds in this. I didn't even know that. He got a role in this show. That's pretty good. He's finally joined the Marvel universe. And Kate Dickey joining the cast in undisclosed roles. Echo, meanwhile, will feature Aquala Cox as Maya Lopez, Chasky Spencer, Tantu Cardinal, Devery Jacobs as Julie, Cody Lightning, Graham Greene, Zane McLaren as William Lopez, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk the Kingpin, and Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, the Daredevil. With Secret Invasion, Loki, and Echo setting dates, it looks like Ironheart, Agatha Coven of Chaos will both premiere in 2024 alongside the hotly awaited Daredevil Born Again. All right, so I don't know. I mean, we didn't talk about the Secret Invasion trailer, but again, I'm kind of excited for these three shows. I mean, like I said, Echo is really not something I'm really salivating over, but apparently this is going to be the soft reboot for Daredevil and Kingpin. So who doesn't want to see that? And of course, it's going to roll into Born Again probably for next year. We also have Loki, which I thought honestly was the best of the first crop of Marvel Disney Plus shows. I thought it was very good. I thought it was the best of them. Trying to think, what was it? WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. What was the other one? I don't know. I think Loki was the best. I think Moon Knight probably was second. I think Moon Knight was second best. But let me know what you think. What do you think about this? You excited about these? I'm excited about all three. Agatha and Ironheart. No, I honestly I I don't know if I'll even watch. But I know, yeah, Secret Invasion looks really cool, and it gives Nick Fury a new lease on life. He hasn't really done a lot in the MCU in recent years. This is his own story, so that'll be fun. And again, Loki potentially has the chance here to shape the MCU going forward. So there's that. All right, moving on. Let's see. What do we got now? We've got this is an interesting story. Seth Freakin Rollins, not content with completely obliterating the competition in the WWE arena, he wants to take out the new Captain America, the Sam Wilson Captain America, in New World Order. So Seth Freakin Rollins joins the NWO. Not a whole lot of copy to go with this. Now, it's being suggested that he's playing a member of the Serpent Society, which was a Captain America adversary many times in the comics. And there's even been suggestion that Diamond Head might be in the movie. This is like bittersweet for me because the problem is they're really trying hard with this movie. I think they're stacking it with so much stuff. I mean, apparently, I don't know if we've touched on this on the show on the Torch News Roundup, but apparently they finally got Liv Tyler back to play Betty Ross. They've recast General Ross as Harrison Ford. They're trying their best to do something with this movie. I just wish we had the Steve Rogers Captain America with it because it would probably be really exciting. They're bringing back the leader, who is apparently going to be the main villain, and now we get Seth freaking Rollins as a member of the Serpent Society. I mean, this sounds like it's a pretty exciting film. I like Anthony Mackie. I thought he was great as the Falcon. I don't think we need him as Captain America. I thought the Captain America, well, the what was it, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, was horribly overblown. It was a terribly woke show, very bad and very grandstandish, especially the last episode. And if they're going to carry that tone into this, which I believe it has the same writers, I could be mistaken. This could be a disaster. At the same time, it seems like I said, they are putting some effort into crossing the T's and dotting the I's of earlier installments, such as the Incredible Hulk, which seems to be the only character from that film that's not in this. I mean, they dealt with the Abomination in a backhanded way in the She-Hulk TV series, which was embarrassingly bad. But if they can do justice to the rest of the Incredible Hulk cast, it would be nice, and I'd really be up for it. Thanks to Christo459518886 on Twitter for getting these shots. And yeah, he's looking pretty good there. I like Seth Rollins. He's probably my favorite. I think I'd have to say he's my favorite WWE star right now. I like Roman Reigns, which is not is not popular to say for some reason. I don't know why. But I think he's a great heel, Roman Reigns, especially in the last couple of years when they made him a heel. That really revitalized his career. But Seth Rollins, I would really like to see Seth take the belt off Roman. We're going to get into a little WWE talk just quickly here, but because I think apparently Roman's tenure is coming to an end, and he's going to start joining Hollywood like a lot of these guys have, and potentially will, depending on how things go here for Seth. I don't know if maybe he might be doing this full time as well. But let me know what you think in the comments below about Seth freaking Rollins in the NWO. And again, is that a play on wrestling? NWO is, yeah, that whole thing happened. All right, something else we're going to touch on quickly here. Another story that came out, I think. It's been so long since we've done a Torch News Roundup. This is Torch News Roundup number 278, by the way. So we're really getting them done. We're really cranking these out here now. As I said before, this is my 10th anniversary on YouTube coming up in November. We got to do something to party. We'll talk about that later. But one of the rumors that was going around, I think in the time since our last broadcast, was fantastic forecasting. Now, of course, nothing is concrete on this, but apparently Adam Driver is allegedly, anyway, all but signed the deal to become Reed Richards. Now, I forget. I think we may have talked about that before. Now, a new rumor suggests that Margot Robbie is going to play Sue Storm slash Sue Richards. I don't know if they're going to start her as Sue Storm or Sue Richards, but I think that's a fantastic choice. Of course, I'm a big fan of Margot Robbie. I love what she's done with Harley Quinn. I think this is a good chance for her to stretch her acting chops a little bit here to play a different kind of character. My only fear is that this is going to be a rumor because it's just too perfect casting. The MCU are very, at least lately, spotty in their record of casting. I think, they did good for a long time. I mean, it's just now with when the woke has really taken hold that it's difficult to see that they're going to actually cast a blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress to play a blonde-haired, blue-eyed character. Now, someone's going to have to take the fall in the Fantastic Four. There has to be an ethnically diverse cast. Even back in the early 2000s when they did Fantastic Four, they made Alicia black because they had to have a ethnically diverse cast, and we all know that they had to have one character take the fall. Alicia's supposed to resemble Sue in a way because Ben kind of had a thing for Sue, but kept it quiet, and then he fell for Alicia, who kind of looked like Sue and the Puppet Master and all that stuff. You probably already know the story. I don't even need to tell you, but so you would like them to kind of keep the storyline straight, but of course the MCU don't really concern themselves with that anymore. But this would be great casting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Margot Robbie could do double duty as DC's Harley Quinn and Marvel's Invisible Woman? I can't see why not. I know that there was some kind of a like a scooper who was trying to say that she's going to have to leave the role of Harley Quinn in order to play the role of the Invisible Woman. I think James Gunn put that to rest because he said the guy was completely fake news, and the guy even owned up to it that it was fake news. So I don't think there's anything to worry about her playing in two different comic book fields. I think she's allowed to do that. I don't know why they would forbid her to do that. Some would suggest that maybe her time as Harley Quinn is coming to an end now that Gunn is taking over. But then again, you got to remember Gunn put her, recast her in the Suicide Squad, so she didn't lose that role going forward. It doesn't make any sense for her to lose it now. And also, there was another news story that I don't really have any copy for it, but Miles will stick it in here now. But of course, Karen Gillian in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise is already suggesting that maybe she'd play Poison Ivy. And of course, as a beautiful redhead, a natural redhead, that would be perfect for her. Now, will DC, of course, have to kowtow to the wokies and the woke heads and try to make sure that Poison Ivy doesn't look like a ginger, a pale skinned ginger? That's what we have to worry about. But if Karen Gillian is up for it, I've always said she'd be good as Batgirl, but I think Poison Ivy would probably be even better. So she's probably right about that. That's probably the best role for her. And we know that Margot Robbie wants to do more Harley Quinn movies, and she's specifically asked to do a Harley Ivy team up. So this could be the best news that we could hear, is that they're actually going to do that and go forward with an actual good actress that not only looks like Poison Ivy, and in the same way, maybe have an actual actress that looks like the Invisible Woman. It's a no lose scenario if they do that. And of course, hopefully, they'll have some writers that'll be able to give us a better story than Birds of Prey, because that was woefully insignificant in the grand scheme of things. It was not good. I don't know if it was as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. I don't think I'd put it on my worst, like top 10 worst superhero movies I've ever seen. But again, it wasn't great. While we're still on the subject, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I should come clean now. Probably not going to review it anytime soon. Now, I know I said I was going to see it, but I'm hearing a lot of stuff about how it's with animal cruelty. Obviously, animals are getting vivisection and experimentation. And I don't begrudge Gunn for doing the Rocket Raccoon story, the origin story in full. You know what I mean? It's something that kind of needs to be shown. But again, I don't know if I trust Gunn to do that in a sensitive way. I don't think he really is that kind of artist where he values sensitivity. I think he kind of like just throws everything on the screen and is like, here's your guts, just go through them. You know what I mean? So I might not subject myself to that until it's on Disney Plus, which means you'd be waiting about another 2 months for my review, which I guess is when it'll be on Disney Plus. Um, I'm hearing conflicting things about it, to be honest with you. Some people are saying it's horrible. It's a bad ending for the franchise, and the bleak flashbacks of Rocket's, origin are really sad and depressing. And there's other people saying, well, it's a fun, adventure to go out on, and they kind of do justice to what the story arc of all the characters are. Everybody has their moment in the sun. I don't know. I just don't know what it's going to be, but one or the other. I kind of feel like I know Gunn as a director, and I seen Guardians Volume 2, and I think If it's in that vein, but more so, which is what I think it is, I'm probably not gonna like it. But again, let me know what you think of it if you've seen it, because I am anxious to see it. I will see it eventually, but I don't want to have to deal with I don't go to the movies to be depressed and morose and so forth. I'd rather see it on TV and not be like stuck in a darkened theater with a huge screen with thousands of people and stuff. It can wait, I think. So sorry for that if it disappoints you, but I'm going to wait on the Guardians Volume 3 review. Next up, I am going to be seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark as a revival. It's going to be coming back up to selected theaters in the beginning of June. So I'm looking forward to that because I haven't seen Raiders on the big screen. That's the only indie movie I was too young to go see. And so I'll finally see it on the big screen. And I saw Return of the Jedi, the 40th anniversary. And again, I was going to do a whole show talking about my love for Return of the Jedi. Maybe I'll do that next week on the 40th anniversary because that is my favorite movie of all time. And seeing it on the big screen again was such a treat. Such a pleasure. I love that movie. And I think, that's going to go down as my favorite movie of all time, no matter what. I don't think anything's ever going to top that. All right. So let's see. I think we've only got that one last story. So let's get to it. Casting rumors have come out about Superman Legacy, which is what I guess we're calling this film. This is apparently the front runners. Now, I don't know if because a lot of names have been mentioned, so there could be a lot more that might get the role that might not be these three, but this is kind of what they're projecting as the front runners. My beverage of choice today is green cola, by the way. This is with no sugar, no calories, no artificial sweeteners, stevia leaf extract. It's made with green tea, so it should be healthier for me than the other stuff that I've been drinking. I try to keep myself to a one soda a day habit, and the green cola I think is going to offset some of that. High fructose corn syrup is in everything. I had like pancakes today, and it's even in that. I mean, it's like, man, I can't get away from that. They got to do a better job of regulating these kind of things, I think, but that's a story for a different time. All right. According to the Hollywood Reporter, a few top contenders for the highly coveted roles of Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor in James Gunn and Peter Safran's upcoming DC universe will kickstart in 2025 with Superman Legacy. David Corenswet, and again, I don't know this guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, has emerged as one of the top contenders, possibly the front runner to play the title role of Clark Kent slash Superman. He recently advanced to the screen test stage, which is expected to take place sometime after Memorial Day or early June at the latest. Now, I have to say, looking at this kid, like I said, he looks like the love child of Henry Cavill and Christopher Reeve. I mean, he really's got that look. I mean, I've never seen him act, which usually is a help if you can actually see them act. But if looks speak to anything, he looks great. He looks like the part. And I honestly think that he would be a good Superman just on looks alone. Two other actors are also believed to be in the mix, but their identities have yet to be uncovered. So it's unclear. It's unclear whether they'll be testing soon. Another thing is, I think James Gunn has admitted to casting one person already. He's not saying who. I wonder if it is him, the Superman actor. British actors Tom Brittney and Andrew Richardson were among the many to audition for the part, but are no longer in consideration. Australian actor Jacob Elordi, who was a fan favorite pick, never actually auditioned for Gunn, and his involvement was only really the result of online speculation. As for Superman's arch nemesis Lex Luthor, it seems as though producers may have already zeroed in on a candidate, Nicholas Hoult. Now, of course, they're saying now that he was up for Superman, although I kind of feel just by looking at him, he looks like the perfect Luther to me. I don't see where you see him looking like Superman. They might be doing one of those things where they brought him in for Superman, and while they don't really think he's a Superman material, they're gonna, say, "Hold on a minute now, we'll give you the Lex Luthor role." I think that's what's gonna happen with Holt because it's almost the same thing that happened with like Tobey Maguire and James Franco. Franco was up for the Peter Parker role too, but they didn't want him, and they said, "Well, you're trying out for that, but you really would be great for Harry." And so they gave him Harry Osborn. I think the same thing is going to happen here. Let's see. Nicholas Holt has been attached to the film for some time, and while some thought he may have been up for the Man of Steel, it looks like Gunn has him earmarked for Luther instead. Dateline's Justin Kroll contradicts the report and says that Holt is actually up for Superman, not Luther, so we'll see over the next few weeks. Gunn and Safran also are nowhere close to making the final decision, says Justin Kroll. Meanwhile, the casting for Lois Lane may take some more time. Hollywood Reporter adds that Emma McKay, Rachel Brosnahan, Phoebe Devener, Deniver, and Samara Weaving are all in the mix. Now, out of them, all I know is Samara Weaving because I seen her in a couple things, and she's good. She's reasonably attractive, and she's got kind of a goofy edge that I think probably would work well with Lois Lane. I think they're gonna go with McKay though because she's got that Margot Kidder look about her, and I think what they're really trying to do is zero in on that familiarity of Superman. They're gonna make because this Horsewit kid, he looks like a dead ringer for, Reeve. This Holt kid, he looks kind of Michael Rosenbaum-ish. If he were bald, I think he'd kind of play a bit as a Michael Rosenbaum. And Emma McKay, she's got kind of that kind of tough, sassy, kind of Margot Kidder-esque Lois Lane about her. I don't know. I think this other chick, Rachel Brosnahan, she's arguably the most looks like what you think Lois Lane looks like from the comics. So I wouldn't have a problem with her. I don't have an image of her here, but she's got black hair, which I think you know that kind of lends to the credibility really early on when you can match the way they look and say, "Oh, this is what she would look like as Lois Lane." That would be a help. But again, I don't know. They say that Rachel Broshan, I can't pronounce her name. They're saying that she's a couple years older. She's like 32, and they're looking for actors in their 20s. And I don't know. I think, see, Grace Randolph made a big stink about this, and I was talking about it on Twitter. She was acting like, she's always had a go at Amy Adams because Amy Adams was a couple of years older than Cavill. I think she was like 5 years older than Cavill. And she's like, "Oh, this looks so terrible." She's like the sugar mama or whatever. I don't I don't know where she gets this kind of thing, but she really went off on Amy Adams, and I think Amy Adams actually was one of the best Lois Lanes. She was just in a crap movie. It's the same thing as Henry Cavill. A lot of people appreciate Cavill and what he was trying to do with the role, and I feel the same way about Amy Adams, and I don't think enough people give her credit for trying to sort of evoke a modern day version of Margot Kidder's Lois Lane. She was very devoted to Superman, and that's kind of half the battle when you got that. I never could stand the sort of the Loises that are antagonistic towards Clark and call him Smallville, and I always thought that Lois was maybe 2 or 3 years older. Margot Kidder was older than Christopher Reeve by 2 or 3 years anyway. I think she was maybe more. Maybe it was like 5 years, like Amy Adams, but the feeling to me is always that Clark is kind of like a greenhorn, or at least he pretends to be. I guess depending on what kind of incarnation you want, I think he kind of puts it on, but he comes from Metropolis. He's a greenhorn in the city. He really doesn't know much about big city life. Lois kind of takes him under her wing and shows him the journalistic ins and outs, and then she kind of gets miffed when out of nowhere he starts scooping her because, he's Superman. It's easy for him to get the story, and that's sort of the in joke of the relationship. Uh, I would like to see that. I like to see a Lois that doesn't know who Clark and Superman being the same person. I don't know why we have to start with that like we did with Man of Steel. I hope they don't do that again here. I mean, we had a cute little thing going in Superman and Lois, and then that just went out the door in the first episode because she found out who he was and this and that. But I'd like to keep that going for quite a while because that to me is the whole thing. It's Superman's always been a self-contained triangle. Lois is in love with Superman. Clark is in love with Lois, but Lois won't give him the time of day. Clark really wants Lois to fall in love with Clark because that's kind of who he is, even though he's sort of playing the fool. He wants her to sort of see past the veneer and that he's, got the good qualities of Superman himself. That's kind of all lost in this generation where everything is, well, how come she can't figure out he's Superman with the glasses on? It's like you ruin a lot of the mythos that way if you're so dead set on her finding out he's Superman right from the jump. I mean, I can see it happening if we've got like, let's say we've got hopefully a dozen movies with this cast where they'll be either starring or maybe guest starring in a Justice League production or maybe guest starring in a Batman movie or whatever. Over a dozen movies that they feature and maybe eventually you let them find out, but why do it in the first 2 or 3 movies? I don't think that's right. Also, talking about the Lex Luthor relationship, I've never been a huge fan of Luthor and Clark being besties. I always thought it worked better. And now there's some basis for that in the Silver Age. Going back to the comics, okay, you got the whole story there. Uh Lex was like this really big Superboy fan, and he was trying to help him protect him from kryptonite. He was like trying to find a cure for kryptonite poisoning, so Superboy would never have to worry about his only illness ever again. And there was a fire, and Superboy blows out the flames, but he accidentally knocks over a beaker of some chemical that makes Luthor go bald. And of course, this is a terrible blow for a young man to be bald with no hope of having hair at like 16 or 17 years old. And this, of course, makes arch enemies for all time. Now, of course, that kind of comes off as kind of hokey nowadays. So I kind of understand if they don't want to do that fully. I would have a problem with it if done the right way. You got to be low key about it. You can't be that he's like vowing to kill Superman for what he did to his hair. You can't kind of do that, but you can make that be sort of a catalyst of building blocks that eventually brings it out of him that he's an evil person. Um, but again, I'm not a big fan of Smallville. I hope they don't do a retread of Smallville where Clark and Lex and stuff. I think it's best if they sort of knew each other, Clark and Lex, in their youth or whatever, but not really build upon that as they were best friends who were destined to become the bitterest of enemies. I don't think that's necessary. So hopefully they steer clear of that. Like I said, I think Holt kind of has a Michael Rosenbaum-ish quality where I think there might be going for that. I hope not. I was never a big fan of Smallville. I never liked it. So I watched like the last couple of seasons when they were doing everything they can to keep people interested by putting in Green Arrow and Aquaman and everybody else and their brother. But I don't know. I don't know how that goes. Let's see. Anything else we got to talk about here with Superman? What do I want to see? Yeah, I want to see Jimmy Olsen. I want to see. I don't know. There was a rumor that the villain is going to be Apex, and that they wanted to cast a black actor. Now, I don't know if that Apex is a character from the comics, or it's a code name, or it's a new character. Um, I think, like I always say, the Joker is overused for Batman. Lex Luthor is overused for Superman, with General Zod being a close second. But I think if you're going to do the definitive Superman movie, you got to have Lex Luthor in it. So that I think is important. General Zod, like I said, they've used him a lot. He's even going to be in the Flash movie coming up. I can see giving him a rest. But again, General Zod is also. Superman doesn't have the most enigmatic villains. I mean, he's got a good handful, but you've got Luthor, you've got General Zod, and then you've got the rest. Then you've got Bizarro. and you got to do a good version of Bizarro if you want to have that get off the ground. You've got Brainiac. I've always found him boring. I'm sorry. I've never liked Brainiac. You got Mr. Mixelplick, which again depends on the kind of story you want to tell. You can do something with him, but I don't see them ever using him in a big budget movie. You got Terror Man, which I think would be a very interesting choice for a movie, but he's basically like a bounty hunter on a winged horse with a cowboy motif. I thought that was very interesting, but it seems to me like Superman would be able to dust him off very easily. So they might have to do something to, you know, sort of update that character a little bit. Trying to think of like all the famous villains of the past for Superman. There really isn't a whole lot. Parasite. Parasite's good for. Parasite is sort of like a lackey though. I don't know. They probably could headline him, but I imagine he'd be like the lackey for someone. Metallo again, another one. So I would like them to try to dip deep into the well of Superman villains. That would probably be a lot of fun. All right, so yeah, we've got almost an hour here. This is really interesting, though. I'm really looking forward to this Superman movie. James Gunn, like I said, flip a coin. I don't know what movie we get. I mean, James Gunn, I really am not a huge fan of what he's done, in the movies I've seen. Guardians, the first one was pretty good, but again, that's what they do. The first movie, when they've got the producers clamp down on them saying, "Give us this kind of movie," you always get a good project. But then when you have them unfettered, then they give you a Guardians Volume 2, which I didn't think was that great. It's the same thing with like Whedon. He was like under the microscope for the Avengers. He delivered a spectacular movie. Age of Ultron, not so much. Batman 89. I would argue Batman 89 has its own share of problems, but a lot of people sort of felt like they lost the luster of what they were building in Batman 89 when they did Batman Returns, a completely different type of story that, was all Burton-esque. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, so that about wraps it up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What hopes do you have for the Superman Legacy movie? Let's see. Hunter Iggy, Johnny Torch, who do you think James Gunn will pick for his Superman? Well, we just talked about that. The cast that apparently are up for it. This guy named David Corenswit. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but I think he looks like a pretty good candidate. I mean, he really's got that. He's got that Superman look. He looks like sort of a combo of Reeve and uh, Henry Cavill. So I think they could do pretty well with getting him. Hopefully that'll be the case. All right, so thanks for joining us, Hunter Iggy. And if Hunter or anybody else here wants to leave some comments in the comment section below, I'll be sure to read them on the next live broadcast. This was live broadcast number 237, and we are hoping not to go 3 weeks without a broadcast again. It's a little difficult, like I said, I'm very busy with the comic, and the comic has to come first. And when I do a broadcast for you guys, I don't want to cheap it out. Now, maybe you guys would be happy if I didn't like take the time to pick images so I could show you, you know, who we're talking about, like in the case of casting there. Maybe we just do it as a podcast where you really don't see anything. That might make it easier for me. I don't have to get a whole lot of images and notes and all that kind of stuff. But I will determine to try to get some more live broadcasts in, and hopefully you guys can participate and join us if possible. Of course, check out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, the action adventure extravaganza. The new issue will be dropping soon, probably within the next month. It will be available for purchase. And also check us out on Global Comics. We are going to be releasing them there as well for digital download, as well as just reading them on the site. And we hope you like it. And so until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.